today we got a question from Jacob, and Jacob says that his coach sometimes, occasionally, makes this comment of, you're rolling too soft, you're too kind, you're too nice. And he says that he doesn't know what to make of it because when he competes, he's able to turn on the aggression and he's able to go hard. But in the gym, he just finds it more beneficial to go a different way. So when he trains right now, and he's been training for several years at this point, he says in the gym, like, let's say, for instance, he gets into a tug-of-war battle where someone's defending the armbar, he can't break it. He might move to a different movement, right? Or if he feels like if he has to really muscle into something, he just moves on to a different movement instead of trying to really fight it out and be aggressive there. Now, he says like the occasional comments from the coach don't bother him, but he's curious as to what I make of it. So Jacob, thanks for the question, brother. And yeah, I don't think that you're rolling too soft. I actually think what you're doing is super intelligent. I'll explain why. But to give you an idea of what maybe rolling too soft would look like, one of my friends back in the day was a little bit too on the soft side, a little bit too nice, couldn't turn on the aggression. And he was super technical, was very skilled, all that stuff. But whenever he would compete or even roll in the gym against lesser skilled opponents and training partners, he had this trouble where if they were way more aggressive than him or they pushed the pace a lot more than him, he just couldn't keep up. He just couldn't turn that mindset on to where he would just get after him. And in that case, it was an issue, right? It was an issue. And I tried to talk to him for years. I mean, you need to turn it up a little bit because these guys are getting you and they shouldn't be. You know, you have to turn into a next gear. You know, usually in jiu-jitsu, it's very much the opposite. We're getting people to like calm down a little bit. His was the opposite. We needed to get him going. Now, in your situation, what you're doing right now with your training is actually what I tend to do with my training, at least I think, which is I'm trying to use the best technique that I can. And a lot of times I focus on finesse. Now, technique in my eyes does not mean that you don't use strength or energy or any nonsense like that. But in the gym, I am trying to achieve the best sort of finesse that I can. And I'm trying to get that economy of technique where when I use a technique, I'm as fluid as possible, I use as little energy as possible, and I'm as efficient as possible. Because, I mean, ultimately, one of the coolest things to do is to be able to beat someone and barely break a sweat. So I'm trying to get to that point with whomever I roll with. Now, I'm not ever going to be to that point where I can roll with anyone like that, but again, that's what I'm shooting for. And so when I'm rolling, rarely do I engage in like knockout, drag out battles where I'm just trying to like rip in submissions and things like that. I mean, every now and then we'll touch that, but most of the time I don't do that. And the reason is that I'm trying to do perfect technique as best as I can. So here's an example. When I'm doing a rear naked choke in the gym, I will try to move around and set it up so that it goes slides right underneath of the neck. And as soon as it does, get it in, there's no better feeling in the world to me than like, well, that's a bit of an exaggeration. But on the mats, very few feelings to me are as exciting as like when you put a choke in and it slides right under the neck, you latch it in and you know it's done. And the reason why I do this is because I found that this has been very valuable to me, because what ends up happening is if I try to practice the best possible technique and I don't allow myself to just muscle through things all the time, what ends up happening is when I go compete and I turn on the aggression, or if I'm in the gym and I gotta like be a little bit more aggressive, the aggression will naturally sort of bring my technique down because you're moving at a faster pace or whatever. But I find that it's almost, it reminds me of what my boxing coach used to say back in the day when we would do bag work. He would tell us to keep our hands up a little bit higher. And the reason is he said that this way, if our hands are used to being up here, when we fight and when we get naturally tired, our hands will drop to where they need to be. And so I want my technique in the gym to be a little bit higher up than what I'll need, so that when I compete and I start to get muscle into stuff and I start to be aggressive, and when the natural speed of the match changes things, my technique will be right where it needs to be. And a lot of times it is in the gym or in competitions. I've had a lot of success in the competitions, and I've had more success since I started rolling like this, opposed to trying to have gym wars every single day. Not to mention, I don't know how old you are, Jacob. I'm 36 years old at the time of recording this. And, well, I'm not that old, because I know we've got 40, 50, 60-year-olds watching, and you guys are like, I'm old. You're not old. I get it, but I used to be 20, was 25, 30, and I know what it was like to train jiu-jitsu those periods, and body doesn't feel like it used to. And so I find that I can train a lot more consistently like this, where, you know, like just like you, if I get into that knockout, drag out fight for a particular move, I'll move to something else and try to use more finesse the next time. And this way I don't get into those battles where my body gets damaged often. It allows me to train more often, more consistently, and my technique gets better because of it. It's a beautiful thing. And so again, every now and then I'll touch the intensity, I'll touch the aggression, but at this point in my life, I don't need to. I have plenty of aggression if I need it. I'm just trying to get that better technique. And I think you're in that same situation. You have aggression, you turn it on for competitions, and you do fine, right? So that's a good thing. That lets you know that you have that ability to turn the gear on. But in the gym, you're looking for technique. And so you asked me what I would make of it. That's what I make of it. I think you're actually doing a good thing. Now, the one thing I would say is that sometimes coaches can get stuck in their ways, man. I mean, we're all guilty of it to some degree. But I think that by you doing what you're doing, you can show the coach the fruits of your labor. He can say, you're being a little bit too kind, a little too nice, Jacob. And you can just basically keep winning tournaments or keep getting better at jiu-jitsu and say, well, it's working. And I mean, I think that's one of the best ways, because people can sometimes, it's just the way it is. People get stuck in their ways, right? We can preach this open-mindedness sometimes, but people get stuck in their ways. And one of the best ways to show them is to just show them, right? You don't have to tell them anything. Show them with action, show them the fruits of your labor, and I think it'll be fine. And over time, your coach will probably come around to the idea that maybe you don't have to roll super, super hard all the time. So anyway, Jacob, that's what I make of it, brother. Hopefully that's useful to you. And guys, I'll talk to you next time.